Hello, AP Statistics. We are going to be doing Chapter 1, Page 1 notes, the reasons to study statistics. The first one is being informed. This allows us to extract information from tables, charts, and graphs, follow numerical arguments, understand the basics of how data should be gathered, summarized, and analyzed. To draw statistical conclusions. So here's an example from news using statistics. When people take a vacation, do they really leave work behind? Data from a poll conducted by Travelocity led to the following estimates. Approximately 40% of travelers check work email while on vacation. About 33% take cell phones on vacation in order to stay connected with work, and about 25% bring laptop computers on vacation. The travel industry is paying attention. Hotels, restaurants, and even cruise ships are now making it easier for vacationers to stay connected to work. And this was from the San Luis Obispo Tribune in 2005, so obviously this data is quite old, and these numbers will have drastically gone up. But each of these percents is a statistic. It's taking data, probably a survey that they did, our poll, and then summarizing information. That's basically one of the processes that we're going to go through. All right, number 2, making informed judgments. Decide whether existing information is adequate or whether additional information is required, and then, if necessary, collect more data in a reasonable and thoughtful way. Summarize the available data in a useful and informative manner. Analyze the available data and then draw conclusions. And make decisions. And assess the risk of incorrect decisions. Each of these kind of main topics is actually a chapter that we will, or multiple chapters that we will cover. So they're very important in statistics. And so, yeah, we'll continue to talk to you about them. Third point, evaluating decisions that affect your life. So here's an example. Insurance companies use statistical techniques to set auto insurance rates. Data suggests that young drivers have more accidents than older ones. Should laws or regulations limit how much more young drivers pay for insurance? So we pretty much know that younger drivers are charged more, and even within that group, males usually tend to be charged more than females. They have more accidents, and so therefore their rates are higher. But we want all of that information to be based off data and not based off just how much money they can get from their clients. All right, number 2, variability. Almost all data varies. It would be a boring world without variability. So, for example, suppose we will ask students in the class how much they paid for a cell phone. Not everyone will have paid the same price. Some may be less expensive than others, and some may be extremely expensive. So, if we ask the class, we could get numbers anywhere from 0. They got a free phone, either they got an old phone from someone they knew, they got a free phone from their carrier, all the way up to they outright bought, like an iPhone, for example. So that's somewhere around $600-$700. So anywhere from 0 to that high mark, and anywhere in between. So, and there's lots of different values that we can get just from one question. That's variability. All right, number 3, statistics and the data analysis process. So this is going to be some vocabulary that we're going to go over. So what is statistics? Statistics is the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and drawing conclusions from data. What are statistics? Statistics are particular calculations made from data. Okay, and we're going to be talking about those a lot. Data are observations that have been collected. For example, if especially looking at people, students, age, height, shoe size, those are just examples of variables where we would collect different, information from people. All right, population is the entire collection of individuals or objects. And when we start talking about doing calculations based off population information, those are called a parameter. Okay, a numeric measurement from a population. And a lot of times we actually don't have information on the entire population. What we normally deal with is a sample, which is a subset of the population. And so a statistic is a numeric measurement from a sample. So this is what we will be dealing with most of the time, where we have sample data and we're going to calculate statistics from that and then try to then estimate how the population is going to respond. All right, we're going to just jump to the next page and finish out some vocabulary. Okay, so individuals, those are objects described by a set of data. Individuals can be people, but they can also be other things such as animals and things that you're measuring. So, for example, if you were going to go out and measure like water samples and then find some sort of calculation, the amount of calcium in the water sample, for example, the individuals would actually be the water samples. Those are what you're measuring. So it doesn't have to be a person, but it can be. A variable is any characteristic of an individual. Okay, so what variables describe students? There's lots of them that we can think of. Your age, you can talk about your gender, your GPA, your grade level, whether you're a sophomore, junior, senior, freshman. There's lots of them that we can think of. Okay. When we start talking about variables, we're going to classify them into two different types. You can either have a categorical variable or a quantitative variable. So a categorical variable places an individual into groups or categories. Okay, and usually these are non-numeric. So something like gender, you're going to be male or female. So we're just going to, like in our class, we would just count up how many females, how many males. It's just a count. We could look at like hair color. We could look at how many people have, blonde hair, brown hair, dark hair, and just count how many people fit in each of those categories. That's categorical variable. A quantitative variable takes numerical values for which arithmetic operations, such as like adding and subtracting, make sense. That's really what sets this one apart. So things like your age, if you age 1 year, we can add on 1 year and it makes sense. Okay, so age would be one. Height, your weight, you gain a pound, we can add on 1 and we know how much you weigh. It makes sense to do arithmetic. All right. So that's what the last thing we're going to talk about here. Categorical variable puts things in categories. Quantitative variable is numeric.